Joining us now, the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, John Whitbeck. John is up for election to a full term that'll be decided on Saturday in Harrisonburg. And we're not sure if he's got a challenger or not. He had a challenger, Vince Haley, but then he dropped out. Now there's a question. He's tried to get back in, and no one seems to know for sure if he can actually get back in or what they're going to do. So it's all in flux. And to straighten this all out is chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, John Whitbeck, who, by the way, I am supporting, and I will be voting for John Whitbeck, as will the Fräulein when we get to Harrisonburg on Friday and Saturday. John, good to have you with us.
Hey, John, good morning.
Okay, so look, help us understand what is going on here. A lot of confusion. My wife is fielding phone calls over the weekend from delegates that she signed up saying, what's the deal with the Whitbeck race and Vince Haley? Is he back in or back out? Can you help us understand where this stands now?
Well, back several weeks ago, this gentleman sent out a press release to a particular blog and saying he withdrew. And then when we sent an email just to confirm that he had in fact withdrawn and not suspended his campaign, as he claims. And he confirmed in the email, in fact, that what we were saying, that he had withdrawn. So we proceeded as if he was not in the race. And then a few days ago or a week or so ago, he decided that he wanted to get back in the race. And now he's assembled a small group of people to try to change the rules and get the convention that they want and get the rules that they want so he can get back in the race. And so we'll see what happens. I don't know if that'll work or not, but we're taking it very seriously. My supporters are going to get there to make sure that the process goes smoothly and that we have as much support as possible. And it'll be a great convention.
John, let me just ask you this point blank. Now, Vince Haley paid his filing fee of $2,500 back in December, launched a campaign for chairman, challenging you, went on, sent out an email, I believe, did a fundraising request, and he called me up and asked me to back him. And at the time, we were at odds, John, on the pledge for the March 1st primary, which I thought was an egregious attempt to defeat Donald Trump. We fought that. You did the right thing in getting rid of the pledge. Then Vince Haley called me up, and I'm going to be honest, I told him point blank, I said, once John got rid of the pledge, there's no rationale in my mind, Vince, for your candidacy. How he got rid of it, I could care less. All I know is John did the right thing. I'm a man of my word, so I'm with him, and that's it. And then he withdrew, and that was the end of it. And I saw Vince March 1 at the Trump Winery on Super Tuesday for our victory party, and he was pretty enthused about what was going on. And there was no talk then of him re-emerging. So then he sends out an email and says, okay, now I'm back in the race because he doesn't like what's happening. But there's a rule which says that if you withdraw, you can't get back in. And the reason why, as I understand it, is that if you set this precedent, somebody can get in the race, withdraw, run a campaign behind the scenes so the other people don't think he's going to run. They're not raising money. They're not holding campaign events. And then 2 days ahead, they reemerge. John, am I right?
Well, and that's why, the way it works is the nominations committee of the convention determines whether someone is eligible to run or eligible to be nominated, and they voted unanimously to say that he's not eligible. But again, we got to take it very seriously, and you never know what can happen. And so we're telling our supporters to show up and make sure that they're there at the start of the convention on Friday. And let's win this thing and let's have a great convention.
So, John, as it stands now, Vince Haley, according to the nominating committee for the Republican Party of Virginia, Vince Haley's name is not on the ballot right now, right? He's not a candidate on the ballot as of now.
That's right, and he may somehow muster the votes to change the rules and make it so he can get back on the ballot. So it's critically important that we take it seriously and we make sure that everybody's there and that we get this going. And everybody who's a delegate who listens to your show probably has gotten these ridiculous phone calls and emails that they're sending out. I mean, they have this out-of-state friend of Vince's volunteer campaign manager that's calling himself, like a PAC of some kind, saying all kinds of falsehoods, and they're paying scripted callers to call all over the delegate list saying that I'm working against Trump and Cruz delegates and all this kind of stuff. And, no mention of what they actually would do that's positive for the party. And, whoever the next chairman is, and I'm very confident that I will be reelected, has to lead the delegation to the convention in Cleveland, which may very well be an open convention. This is a convention that could be the most important convention of our lifetime, probably in a century, because it will determine who the nominee is to have to beat Hillary Clinton. And nobody underestimates the importance of winning the White House. And the person who's now trying to mount a campaign at the 11th hour has never been to a state convention. He's never been to his own district conventions. And, how can you expect to lead the delegation and be in this convention, this big time, everybody in the world, billions of people will be watching what happens at the Republican convention. How can you expect to lead the convention, the delegation of the convention? We've never even been to one. We didn't vote in the Bratt-Cantor primary in 2014. I mean, it's not an involved individual. And I feel like at some point you got to make the argument why you should be the chairman. And, on my side of things, we've paid down 100% of the inherited debt. On his side of things, they ran up $4.5 million in debt in the Gingrich campaign, which they still haven't paid off. And over $900,000 of that debt was to everyday Virginians. This is a person, like I said, who's never been to conventions. I mean, you have to have a record to stand on. We spent more money in 2015 to elect state and local candidates than the history of the party, almost $3 million. We got 13 people on the ballot in Virginia where there were only 2. And Mr. Haley ran a campaign that didn't even make the ballot in Virginia, the Gingrich campaign. So, I'm hearing all these things. I'm hearing all these accusations working against Trump and Cruz delegates. And I'll tell you what, if I was working against Trump and Cruz delegates, you, John, a huge Trump supporter, Morton Blackwell, a Cruz supporter, and Ken Cuccinelli, another Cruz supporter, would not be endorsing me for reelection. And all 3 of you are, along with hundreds of other grassroots activists around the state.
Well, look, I think you're right. And I do have to take exception to one of these, I guess, paid calls, if you will. I got one of them, and I just have to call it out because, look, truth to power. I mean, you can run a campaign and that's fine. You can do whatever you want. And Vince Haley's got a right to do whatever he pleases. And actually, Vince is a good guy and he's a friend of mine, but you can't lie. And so I got one of these paid calls to my own phone saying that blah, blah, blah. And by the way, John Whitbeck is working to defeat Cruz and Trump delegates at the convention. Now, I don't know what you're doing with Cruz delegates, John, and frankly, I don't give a damn. I'm interested in Trump delegates, and I can dispel that right now. All of my involvement with the chairman's office as it involves Trump delegates both at the state and at my district level have been, I thought, fair and open and honest, and I think you've been a fair and honest broker of a tough situation. So I don't have any complaints at all. So when I got that phone call saying that you were doing all in your power to stop Trump delegates from getting in at the state, I just didn't think that was accurate because I haven't seen evidence of that. The people in the Trump campaign in the state of Virginia haven't said that. And we expect on Saturday that we'll get our fair share and that it'll be equitable.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, we have this notion of a parachute candidate. That people are going to try to nominate, Paul Ryan or somebody like that. Frankly, I don't know any Republicans out there anymore that really accept that notion. I mean, everywhere I go, the Republican Party is pretty united, and we have the candidates we have. I mean, those are the people that are going to be the nominee. There's 3 of them left in the race right now. And, I just got back from the RNC meeting where we stopped any attempt to change the rules, and we are all opposed to this parachute candidate scenario. And one of the things that this, independent a quote independent organization is selling is that I'm somehow trying to get this parachute candidate in, and I'm getting emails from people, saying, I'm getting these false emails about you and parachute candidate, everything like that. And it's unfortunate because, I got a state to win on behalf of the RPV. We've been targeted as one of the 5 races or 5 states that will determine the White House. We are building the largest grassroots organization in the history of Virginia, the largest field program. We're going to have 143 people on the ground, and we've got a lot of work to do. And it's very telling that this other person who's trying to run now has no plan, has nothing positive to say, only negative, and it's outright lies. And, it's just Republicans have got to start, when people start running campaigns like this, and I believe the kind of campaign you run is the kind of elected official or party official that you'll be. And I think the kind of campaign that we're seeing coming over there, it says a lot about the character.
Well, John, look, again, Vince Haley's a friend of mine. He's a good guy, but I don't see a rationale for the candidacy. I don't like people doing robo calls or emails or other things that are not accurate and they're just lies. I think you've been fair in this process. But look, why not just let Vince Haley go on the ballot and beat him?
Well, we gotta let the people decide. The people of the convention will decide these things, and I think that's the right way to do it. And this convention, the great thing about this convention, it's not just about me and some other candidate who may or may not be in the race. We're electing our national committee woman and our national committee man, and the whole thing that this centers around, even more importantly, is we're going to be electing 13 at-large delegates to the Republican National Convention. And so there's a lot going on in this convention, and one of the other attacks they've been saying is that we don't want you to show up to this convention. Well, let me state unequivocally, we want everybody to show up. And what's going to happen is going to happen. We want you to be a part of it. It's going to be really well run. We've got all kinds of new things that we're trying out to make the experience very, very enjoyable. We're going to have some last minute additions to the speakers that people are going to really be excited about. Everything is going to be really great about this convention. It's going to be a great precursor to the 2017 convention, which is going to happen next year, where we nominate our governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general candidates. So this is, I want you to go. The RPV wants you to go. And it's going to be a really great weekend. I can't wait.
All right, John, we're looking forward to it also. Final question. You were at this rules meeting for the National Republican Committee in Florida. There's been a lot of scuttlebutt on it saying, as you said, rules were trying to get changed to make it easier for a parachute candidate to come in, somebody that's not running for president, the so-called white knight. How did those meetings go, and what was the outcome of it?
Well, as I've said before, John, we'll never be the home team with the media, except maybe on your show where you're fair. So there were media everywhere. Washington Post reporters, Politico, New York Times, every landmine you could walk through. I couldn't walk from the ballroom to the men's room without being talked to by a reporter at this thing. And they were looking for something. And what's amazing is that, the Rules Committee, who is chaired by one of the Arizona RNC members, and our member is one of my supporters, Morton Blackwell, who does a fantastic job for the last several decades fighting on the Rules Committee. The media blew it up like there was going to be this huge fight, and it was going to be an outbreak of vitriol and venom and everything. It was a 54-2 vote in the Rules Committee to stop the changes. And Virginians have Morton Blackwell representing them. We've got the best possible representation. Then it came to the RNC general session, and it of course, had already failed. So the rules report passed unanimously, and it was really great to see the RNC take a stand. Lord knows I've been one of their biggest critics in 2012 with some of the rule changes they did that really impacted the grassroots.
Right.
I used to go around and when I was a chairman of the 10 district and just really rail on that. And now, we have more attempts at rule change, and the RNC completely did a 180 and is stopping it. And I think that means that we're gonna have a strong, a very strong commitment to the three candidates that are still in the race, and Republicans are going to unite behind them. And, I was at the VFRW convention yesterday speaking to several hundred women. And, when I said that this is where I stand on making sure that the rules don't change and that the parachute candidate scenario doesn't occur, there was loud applause. And, these women are the backbone of our party. And if the backbone of our party is with us on this, then I think the grassroots is with us on this. I think we are going to beat Hillary Clinton. It doesn't matter who we nominate of these three gentlemen. They all can beat Hillary Clinton, and nobody should be listening to the media right now thinking that somehow we're going to lose in the polls and this and the polls of that. We all know how the polls are wrong in Virginia, and they're going to be wrong in 2016.
John, final question. There was a PowerPoint presentation made to all of the members by the Trump campaign, specifically the new, convention manager, Paul Manafort, who was there, a grizzled lobbyist, longtime veteran political Republican operative. What was his take on that?
Well, I went to all three events. There was an event with all three of the candidates. Donald Trump was the only candidate not there, but Rick Wiley and Paul Manafort were there. It was trying to explain why they believe they can beat Hillary Clinton. They believe that there's millions of new voters that have come, which is actually true. I mean, I think I saw a report, 61,000 people have switched their registration in Pennsylvania, and it happened in Massachusetts. So their theory of the case is that they're the campaign that turns out a whole new set of voters to support them. And it's part of the outreach effort that they're doing to the different areas of the party is to try to unite the party and get behind that. And and then the Cruz campaign has their theory about conservatives are not going to stay home; they're going to come out to vote for a Ted Cruz because he's a consistent conservative. We haven't nominated one in the last several cycles. And then of course we have the Kasich campaign theory of the case, which is. He's been a great governor, and he's going to take the policies, pragmatic policies to the White House, and he's consistently leading in the polls over Hillary Clinton. And so it's been, very educational. The three events were very good. There were 168 voting delegates at the RNC meeting. That was the largest concentration of delegates in one place that these candidates were going to see. So they were there selling it, and Paul and Rick did a really good job, and I talked to them after the event one-on-one, and just let them know that if they're the nominee, the Virginia Republican Party is going to be 100% behind them, just like I've told the Cruz and Kasich campaign the same thing. And we are going to support the nominee with everything we've got, and I hope that all the Republicans in Virginia are with us on this, and I think they will be.
All right, John Whitbeck, we're out of time. Thank you for giving equal time to all three presidential candidates. Donald Trump is going to win on the first ballot, and he's going to go on to beat Hillary Clinton, but we appreciate your fairness, especially in talking up the Cruz campaign, which is out there trying to steal delegates, John, as we speak, my narrative. John, thanks for being with us. And Robert Ike, can we go on record? Are you going to vote for John Whitbeck? Okay, Ike says he's in. So, John, you got 3 votes right here. I'm going to vote for John Whitbeck for real election. So is my wife. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network.